Well, hello. Yes, it's Christmas Day. I am Santa, but have you noticed? My beard is gone. I'll talk to you more about that in just a few moments. But you are watching Santa's Studio. I'm so glad you're here. Shall we start with Santa's favorite song? Here comes Santa Claus and his favorite snow globe. It's so wonderful. I love this. Yes, it's Christmas Day, and Santa is safely back in the North Pole. It was a wonderful journey. There we go. Santa's gonna have to go to the workshop and get some more lights. These lights aren't working properly on my tree. Yes, you ask about the beard. We've talked before about the word incognito, meaning to be disguised or to look differently. Mrs. Claus, to tell you the truth, she doesn't like Santa's beard. Can you believe that? But now that Christmas presents have been delivered, Santa has to shave the beard for two reasons. To keep Mrs. Claus happy for a little while until I grow my beard again for this coming Christmas, but also to be incognito. I've had children ask Santa when I appear in public around the world before Christmas, what do you do when Christmas is over? That's a good question. First, I give all of the elves a vacation. They can travel anywhere they want with their families around the world and take some time off to relax. They've worked hard building and helping Santa prepare for delivering presents to all the boys and girls around the world. But also then Santa begins to tidy up around the North Pole. If you got presents this morning, you know that sometimes it can be a mess, can't it? Well, it can get to be a mess around the North Pole too. And so we tidy up, and then Santa begins right away to travel around the world. And I go incognito. That means I don't have my beard on. I don't have my special hat. I don't dress in my fancy suit. I dress human clothes on Santa, and that way I can get around and still check on who's naughty and who's nice. To millions and millions around the world, I can do that without being recognized. And so that's why the beard has gone for now, but I will again begin later on this year, 2022, begin to grow it again so it's long and full like you're probably used to seeing Santa. In fact, I think this is the first time I've ever appeared in public in my studio here without my beard on. But I wanted to share with you an answer to that question. What do you do when Christmas is over? And so that's what I do. I shave the beard and I travel around looking for children who are being particularly nice or naughty as well. And I keep it written down on my list. This is going to be the final episode, and it's, I think, season 4, episode 6, but I'm not quite sure. You'll be able to watch this episode on Santa's YouTube channel, Santa Jeff Claus, and on Santa's Facebook channel, Santa Jeff Claus on YouTube, and I Believe in Santa, ho ho ho, on Facebook. It's also on Instagram, I Believe in Santa, ho ho ho, on Facebook and Instagram. Ho 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 ho. So glad you're with us. I will return after this episode in the fall of 2022 as we start to broadcast season 5, I believe, of our little visits. What are we going to do today? Well, I'll have you know that Santa, on his journey around the world, uses Rudolph, as you know, and his red nose is like the GPS that you have probably in your car. Helps us get around. But we ran into a little bit of fog and a little bit of snow way up in the sky as we sped around the world. And so Santa had to use his trusty Santa scepter. You'll notice Rudolph is in all 4 directions. And I shake that when I'm flying in the sleigh. And that allows me to get Rudolph back on the right route so we're able to deliver presents to every boy and girl around the world. Santa, just before Christmas, a few days ago, was able to finish an appearance schedule. The last one was in Laguna Beach at the Sawdust Festival Winter Fantasy. Santa saw, over the few days of that event, about 10,000 children, and many adults as well. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. Lots of joy and happiness. And it was wonderful to visit with all the little children, take a lot of pictures. Those photos might be on Instagram at I Believe in Santa, ho ho ho, on Instagram. I think there might be some photos there of the event. Yes, it was a wonderful event. And then I returned last night. The sleigh was already loaded, and we set out around the world so you would have a happy Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy the presents that Santa brought you. When Santa visits with children in person, they oftentimes bring him lists and letters. I read every single one, and I post some of them on my Instagram as well. I believe in Santa, ho, ho, ho. I'll read a few of those a little bit later on, but I'd like to talk about one question that children often ask Santa. Well, they ask Santa, where are the reindeer? But they also ask for live animals. Santa, can you bring me a puppy or a kitty? Children even asked for, what do those things, the unicorns, that's it. They wanted some of those. Some asked for hamsters. And I explained that Santa can't bring live creatures into his sleigh. Just as you have a seat belt and you're enclosed when you travel on an airplane, up in the sky, or even in your car, Santa doesn't have that in his sleigh. And so animals tend to move around and fly out of the sleigh, and they tumble to the ground. And we don't want to hurt our pets, do we? And that's why getting a live animal is something that Santa can't accomplish for you. That's something for you to talk to your mother or your father about for maybe a birthday present or some other event. Well, Santa just broadcast, Santa just recorded and posted, I think it might be posting a day late, but it's tradition that Santa reads "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Some of you are familiar with that famous story, and you can look for that later on, maybe today, and it should be on Santa's YouTube channel now, Santa Jeff Claus, and it might be on Santa's Instagram as well, or Santa's Facebook. I believe in Santa. Ho, ho, ho. It's a wonderful traditional story read the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Well, I hope your Christmas day is going well. Do you remember that we started reading a story that we won't be able to finish? It's the first chapter book that we've started here on the program. It was the Laura Ingalls Wilder stories, Christmas stories it was entitled. And we got through 3 or 4 chapters, and it describes their prairie life and their life in the cabin and their friends visiting on Christmas Day. We're going to read Chapter 5. Mr. Edwards meets Santa Claus. If you recall, it's Ma and Pa, and they have 3 girls, all gathered together in their small cabin. It was Christmas morning. Laura opened her eyes. She heard Jack growl, and then the door rattled. "Ingalls, Ingalls," someone said. Pa opened the door. Now, if you remember, there was a terrible, terrible rainstorm, and the creek was rushing so wide and powerful that the girls were worried that Santa wouldn't arrive, and it stopped visitors from coming to visit them. Well, they were worried still that the creek was running wide and rushing hard. "Great fish hooks, Edwards," he cried. "Come on in." Laura looked toward the fireplace and saw the stockings hanging limply. She shut her eyes again. She heard Pa piling wood onto the fire to keep them warm. Then she heard Mr. Edwards say that he had carried his clothes on his head when he swam across the creek. "It was too big a risk, Edwards," Pa said. "We're glad you're here, though, but that was too big a risk, just for a Christmas dinner." "Your little ones had to have a Christmas," Mr. Edwards replied. "No creek could stop me after I met up with Santa Claus." Laura sat straight up in bed. "You saw Santa Claus?" she shouted. "I sure did," Mr. Edwards said. "Where? When? What did he look like? What did he say? Did he really give you something for us?" Mary and Laura cried out at the same time. Wait a minute," Mr. Edwards laughed. "Ma said she would put the presents in the stockings as Santa Claus had intended. She said the girls must not look, though." Now, if you remember, for Santa to deliver presents, I often ask the children, "Can you be awake or must you be asleep?" And they all know they have to be asleep. And so I think that's why Mom asked for the girls not to look, to pretend that they were asleep. Mr. Edwards came and sat on the floor by their bed. He answered every question they asked him. Laura and Mary tried not to look at what Ma was doing. Mr. Edwards told them how he was walking through town when all of a sudden he saw Santa Claus coming down the street. "In the daytime?" Laura asked. She didn't think anyone could see Santa Claus in the daytime. "No," Mr. Edwards said, "it was nighttime. The first thing Santa Claus said was, 'Hello, Edwards.'" "Did he know you?" Mary asked. "How did you know he was really Santa Claus?" Laura asked. That's another question lots of children ask Santa in person. Are you the real Santa? Should I answer that for you? I usually have them tug on Santa's beard to see if it's real. They do. I say, "Ouch," and their eyes light up knowing that the beard is real. I also show them my gold belt buckle, and it says Santa on it. I then asked to tug on their beard, and we giggle that they don't have beards. So they conclude that Santa is real. They're also shocked when Santa remembers the cookies they left him the year before, and that they left a carrot for the reindeer. They're also quite shocked when Santa mentions that the reindeer, and I'll tell you, in the last year, the reindeer have started to like, besides the carrot and the reindeer food, apples. It makes no difference if it's a red one, or a green one, or a yellow one, or some other color. The children are shocked at this and very, very happily surprised. We're back to the story. Mr. Edwards has arrived. He saw Santa in town. It was nighttime. "How did you know he was really Santa Claus?" Mr. Edwards said that Santa Claus knew everybody, and he knew Santa at once by his whiskers. There you go. Santa Claus had the longest, thickest whitest set of whiskers west of the Mississippi River. Edward, Santa Claus said, I understand you are living down by that roaring creek. Do you happen to know two little girls named Mary and Laura living down there? I surely do know them, Mr. Edwards replied. It rests heavy on my mind, said Santa Claus. They are both of them such sweet, pretty, good little girls that I know they are expecting me. I surely do hate to disappoint two good little girls. But with the water up the way it is, I can't make it across the creek. Santa Claus tugged on his whiskers and looked at Mr. Edwards with a twinkle in his eyes. Edwards, Santa said, you look like you could make it across that creek. Would you do me a favor and take Laura and Mary their gifts this one time? I'll do that, and with pleasure, Mr. Edwards told Santa. Then Santa Claus and Mr. Edwards stepped across the street to the hitching post where Santa's pack mule was tied. Didn't he have his reindeer? Laura asked. You know he couldn't, Mary said. There isn't any snow. Reindeer only appear when there's snow. Exactly, said Mr. Edwards. Santa Claus travels with a pack mule in the Southwest where we're living. Santa opened the pack and took out the presents for Mary and Laura. Oh, what are they? Laura cried. But Mary asked, then what did he do? Santa Claus shook hands with Mr. Edwards and swung up on his fine horse. He tucked his long white whiskers under his bandana and said, So long, Edwards. Then Santa rode away on the Fort Dodge Trail. There's a picture of them meeting. Chapter books don't often have pictures, but this one does right here. Santa was whistling and humming Christmas songs as he departed. Then Ma said, You may now look, girls. You remember Ma was putting presents from Santa in their stockings? Laura saw that something was shining bright in the top of her stocking. She squealed and jumped out of bed. So did Mary, but Laura beat her to the fireplace. The shining thing was a glittering new tin cup. Mary had one exactly like it. Now they had tin cups of their very own. Laura jumped up and down and shouted and laughed. Mary stood still and looked with shining eyes at her very own tin cup. They plunged their hands into the stockings again. Out came 2 long sticks of candy. It was peppermint candy. It had red and white stripes on it. They looked and looked at the beautiful candy. Laura licked her stick. Just one lick. But Mary was not so greedy. She didn't even take one lick. And the stockings were not empty quite yet. Mary and Laura reached in and pulled out 2 small packages. Inside each package was a little heart-shaped cake. The tops of the little cakes were sprinkled with white sugar. The sparkling grains looked like tiny drifts of snow. The cakes were too pretty to eat. Mary and Laura just looked at them. But at last Laura turned hers over. She nibbled a tiny little bite from underneath, where it wouldn't show. The inside of the little cake was white too. Laura and Mary didn't think to look in their stockings again. The cups and the candy and the cakes were almost already too much. They were too happy to speak. But then Ma asked if they were sure the stockings were empty. Laura and Mary looked surprised. And they reached inside one more time. And in the very toe of each stocking was a shining new bright penny. Now they each had a penny of their very own, a cup and a cake and a stick of candy and a penny. There never had been such a Christmas before. Laura and Mary were so happy, they forgot about Mr. Edwards. They even forgot about Santa Claus. In a minute they would have remembered, but before they did, Ma said gently, "Aren't you going to thank Mr. Edwards?" "Oh, thank you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you," Laura and Mary said. And they meant it with all of their hearts. Santa used Mr. Edwards as his special helper, didn't he? That's something that I share with children and adults, that Santa uses regular people as his special helpers sometimes, especially parents. Then Mr. Edwards stuck his hands into his pockets and took out 9 sweet potatoes. He had brought them all the way from town. He thought Pa and Ma might like sweet potatoes with their Christmas turkey that Pa, if you remember, had captured the day before. Now for Christmas dinner there was the big juicy roasted turkey. There were the soft buttery sweet potatoes, and there was a fresh loaf of warm bread that Ma had baked. After all that, there were dried blackberries and more little cakes. But these little cakes were made with brown sugar. They did not have white sugar sprinkled over their tops. After dinner, Pa and Ma and Mr. Edwards sat by the fire and talked. Mary and Laura looked at their beautiful cakes and played with their pennies and drank water out of their new tin cups. Little by little, they licked their sticks of candy. This was a very, very happy Christmas. Chapter 6. You will have to complete the story on your own. Christmas Stories by Laura Ingalls Wilder. We just don't have time this season to finish. If Santa has time later on in his travels, I'll see if I can finish reading the entire chapter story and post it on my YouTube channel, Santa Jeff Claus. Now, you probably noticed Santa's beard is gone because I'll be traveling the world in disguise to check on who's naughty and who's nice. But do you notice something? I normally have my glasses, don't I? My round gold glasses. You know what happened? When I was flying around the world in my sleigh, some wind came. And when I tried to straighten my glasses, what happened was they went flying off out of the sleigh. And so Tomorrow, after Christmas, I'm going to have one of my elves try to make Santa a new pair of glasses. And so that's why I don't have any glasses. And you learned why Santa doesn't have any beard. In the story we just read, you'll notice that Laura and Mary were very content and happy with what we think of as the most simplest of gifts. A cup, 1 penny, which back then could buy a piece of candy at the store. They had a small cake, and they were happy. So very happy. You'll notice that Mr. Edwards was helping Santa be a helper. As Santa has traveled around the world and most recently was in Laguna Beach at the Sawdust Festival Winter Fantasy event, where I saw literally hundreds and hundreds of children and adults every day. I visited with many of them. Many gave me letters. Here they are. They normally mail their letters to Santa, and I get them, and I read them, and I keep every single one filed away. But one of the things that I noticed about many children, and even adults, some children I was very, very proud of and happy that they didn't wish for anything for themselves. Some children, of course, had a long list of toys that they wanted. But Santa was especially pleased with the children who wished for things for others. That's a wonderful kind of special child. Many said to Santa that they wanted peace in the world. What a wonderful thought. I wish Santa could control that, but I can't. Many wished for our pandemic, the COVID, to be gone. Most of the adults and the children wore their masks, but they were wanting COVID to be over. Santa does too. I'm sure everybody does. But in order to get that accomplished, we now have science that has created vaccines that are safe and effective. Around the world, we need to get them to every single person. If you go to school, you're required to show that you have gotten vaccines for so many diseases that have been in our past that we no longer have because of the effectiveness of vaccines and that everybody has gotten them. We need the same thinking for this COVID. Everybody needs to get vaccinated, and there's even a booster shot now that will help it become even more effective. A lot of children wanted for the COVID to be gone, and that's what we need to do, is to make sure everyone's vaccinated. A lot of children also asked for shelter and food for the homeless people they see living on the streets in their community. Some children wanted things, a present, for a brother or a sister or a parent. So generous. Children who are being not selfish, wanting just for themselves, but being selfless. Less about themselves and wanting presents for others. Those are some special children, and Santa particularly appreciates them. And so Santa will read just a few little excerpts from notes that he has gotten recently. This one says, "Dear Santa, I want these things." This is Carlotta. She lists a scooter and roller skates, books and a fidget spinner, brain games, but number 6 on her list was particularly interesting. It said, "I want presents for the poor children." And this was a little 6-year-old girl. Here's a child. "Hi, Santa. I hope you had a good year. I send my regards to Dasher and Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, and of course, Rudolph. I think I have been good this year. I think my Christmas list," what does it say here? "I earned my Christmas list. I worked hard to control my temper better. I was better mannered. I'm trying to be kinder. I'm helping older folks by baking for them. And I'm trying to control my mood swings. And I try not to eat so much when I am bored." That was Melissa. Interesting letter, don't you think? Did she have a long list of things that she wanted? No. She reflected on how she's done and how she could do better. Here's one. You see it? Santa Claus is there. Let's see if I can see it. The print is fairly small, and without my glasses, I don't know if I can read this one. "Santa, I know this hasn't been the easiest or the best of years. I have been challenged myself. I haven't been as good as I could be, I know that. But I am trying, and I will change. All I want for Christmas is for my family to be happy and healthy, and for the homeless to have shelter, jobs, and food to eat, especially the children. Please take care. I love you, Santa. I love you too." Did you notice this little child reflected on themselves, how they could improve, and they wished for things for others, for their family to be happy and healthy, and things for the homeless. Selfless, not selfish. Now here is a letter from Martina. Big letters. Merry Christmas, dear Santa Claus. Hello, my name is Martina. I am 10 years old, almost 11. This year, I have not been that good. I have been talking back to my parents, but I am trying to be better at that. I am trying hard in school, and I try to get good grades. I will try to act nicer to my sisters, and I promise to have a better attitude. This Christmas, I only want a couple of things. Martina then lists 2 lists. I don't know if you can see that or not. 1 column and another column. She has a Christmas list where she asked for a few things for herself. A few games, a few books. But what was particularly interesting was this list over here. It's the Christmas wishes list. I would like for my family to be healthy and to have COVID to be gone. I would like homeless families to have shelter and to have them each get a present or 2 if you can carry them in the sleigh, Santa. Ho, ho, ho. And I would like everyone to have food on Christmas. Santa, thank you. We will be away from my regular house during Christmas. I hope you can just leave the presents at my regular home. Love, Martina. They sound like the Ingalls girls, don't they? Selfless, not selfish. And that would be my wish. As we move forward past this Christmas, I hope you're having a safe Christmas, one with family, one where you're enjoying your presents and the treats Santa brought you. But as we move into 2022, I would ask that you try to be selfless. A little more like the girls in these letters. And the boys, too. I had one little boy come up and say, Santa, I don't want anything for myself. I have enough. Can you get my little sister a dollhouse? Children who are givers, not takers. That's a message I try to get through to adults as well. So going through 2022, as you try your very best, simply keep trying. Try your very best in school, with your attitude, in helping around the house, doing chores, not having your family have to yell at you to pick things up or to help around the house. And if you're an adult, try to continue to be caring and loving and nurturing of those in your life. Take care of those you possibly can. But also remember, you need to take care of yourself as well. Take time for yourself. Nurture yourself. Don't know what that might entail. Maybe it's just taking a bath or a shower, or maybe getting in your car and going on a little drive somewhere. Or maybe it's treating yourself to a special dessert or a meal. Maybe it's finding that special friend who will listen to you. In any event, adults and children, until I see you again around Thanksgiving time in 2022, be reminded that you can watch Santa anytime you want on his YouTube channel, Santa Jeff Claus. You can also follow him on his Santa Facebook page and his Santa Instagram at I Believe in Santa, ho, ho, ho. And until we meet again, remember, be good. Santa loves you. Farewell until we meet again. Bye-bye.